Hi, I'm C.W. Subtle. Today I'm going to be reading Chapter 1 from the fantasy book series Necro by yours truly. It's a story of trust and intrigue set in a completely new world with original races and clans. Timothy, a young up-and-coming necromancer, is forced to traverse a world where the lines between friends and foe have become blurred in a desperate attempt to save his homeland from enemy forces. This will be the first of many readings from both books 1 and 2. So if you like what you hear today, be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified when new videos are available. Let's get started. Chapter 1 The Test.
Her quill danced over a mound of pages. The pressing burdens of leadership laid heavy upon her brow. Though hints of gray wound through her long blonde locks, she retained a youthful gleam in her eye. Was I the only one to sense the sadness in her soul? At last the quill paused. With a deep sigh, she prepared herself for the next difficult task. I was never quite sure why I spied on her. Perhaps I was hoping a piece of her strength would rub off on me. Timothy! How many times have I told you not to do that? I smirked a boyish grin. Sorry, Mother. I hate to disturb you, but it's time. Are you ready? Queen Leica gazed at me with a mother's love and a nursemaid's concern. As ready as I'll ever be, I said, my lips quivering as the gravity of the moment crashed down upon me. Are you scared? Yes. My gaze dropped to the floor. I felt a tear welling up in my eye that I fought to contain. Your father would have been proud of you. Lord Wispa, too. What if I can't do it? What if I can't pass the test? You will, Mother comforted. Even if you don't, you are still Prince Timothy, heir to the throne. That's not enough. I'm the son of Lord Timicus, God Emperor of the dead. What if I disgrace his name? What if I disgrace Lord Wispa? What if I disgrace you? Or myself? What did Lord Wispa always tell you? Believe in me. Believe in the magic within me. My father lives on through me, I answered. Mother's smile curled up from the side of her lip. Lord Wispa was a wise man, a wonderful mentor, and a good judge of talent. He believed in you. You must believe in yourself, this son, more than ever. I nodded as the quiver returned to my lips. For moons, the burden of the test had been growing in the deepest regions of my soul, making sleep difficult, and my appetite had all but disappeared. I felt a dull throbbing at the base of my neck as Mother stood up and approached me. She reached down and gently kissed my forehead. The glistening gaze of her crystal blue eyes calmed me. I could feel my power and pride returning. Taking my hand, we walked down the long hallway of the honored dead. As I passed each massive painting of the great necromancer lords, it felt like I had known them personally. Countless times I walked through these walls with Lord Wispa. I listened intently as he rambled on with every story and myth of each lord in mind-numbing detail. But the last picture on the right, I knew better than all the rest combined. The picture of Lord Timicus, God Emperor of the dead, my father. The picture was so lifelike it almost spoke to me. Since I had never heard my father's voice, I wondered if my imagination was correct, but somehow it was still comforting nonetheless. When I reached the massive painting, I stopped to have one more silent conversation with him. I can feel his strength in you, Mother said while stroking my head. For so many winters, Lord Whisper has been preparing me for this sun. I never thought too much about the test. The 12th anniversary of my birth seemed so far away. Now, here it is, just like the test. I imagine your father is watching you from the other side right now. You're going to do fine. How do you live up to the shadow of a god? Your father was not a god. God Emperor of the Dead was just a given title. Lord Whisper always told me that too, but his painting still is in the honored hall, in a sacred place, watching and judging every pledge that attempts the test of Necmara. I took a final gaze at the powerful image of my father, then turned toward the giant brass doors of Necmara Hall. 2 guards garbed in black armor opened the doors as I approached. Before we could pass the threshold, we were stopped. "I'm sorry, Leica," the guard said, raising his hand to block the Queen's path. "This is as far as you can go." "I am Queen Leica. You will let me pass," my mother said, surprised and annoyed. "In this place you are neither queen nor lady. Within the walls of Necmara you are only Leica. You know this. Due to your kinship to the late Lord Timicus, you have been allowed to come this far. If you wish, you may watch the proceedings from the upper balcony in silence." Mother nodded with a scowl. Outside these walls she was a powerful monarch, but she knew the law. She looked down at me and mustered a comforting smile. Leaving me with the ominous guards, she proceeded up the steps. I entered the chamber where 3 boys were sitting on a long wooden bench. I approached and sat next to the short one, who seemed small for 12. He was meticulously clothed in fine red and gold dress, the markings of a rich family. But as fine as his clothes were, the look on his face told me everything I needed to know. He was frightened too. "Hello, I'm Prince Timothy." "Not here, you're not," spat a tough-looking kid at the far end of the bench. "Here you're just Timothy. We're all the same here, just pledges to the Brotherhood. The test will prove who has the real stuff. Sleeping on fancy pillows doesn't make you a necromancer." "Timothy?" questioned the short boy. "Aren't you the son of Lord Timicus?" I gave a quick nod, not wanting to boast. "Oh, you'll pass for sure." "Don't count on it," interrupted the tough one. "I, Periton, will be the one they take. I will be the one they pick. Look at my hand." He thrust his open palm in front of our faces. It was scarred and blackened. "I have been burning my hand every sun for moons to get ready to hold the wand. I can't fail. Remember that name, Periton, for a sun will come when you will bow to it." Periton pulled his hand back in triumph and marched off to sit alone. "Would burning your hand help?" whispered the short boy, cupping his hand over his mouth. "No," I replied, quite sure of myself. "My name is Emerus," the boy said. "What a time to choose to take the test. I have to compete against you." Despite what whatever his name is, believes, we are not in competition. Anyone who can hold the wand is moving on. My father told me that sons of great lords almost always become necromancers. Not always. Many are too afraid to even try, and many others fail, I said. "I'm from the kingdom of Pilico," Emerus began. "My mother almost made it to the 4th rank of the Order of the Druids." My eyebrows raised. "Druids? And they're still letting you take the test? Aren't they afraid you might be a spy?" My mother died at the Battle of Versanic, fighting alongside the necromancers. She gave her life to save a lord. They all said she was a hero. I never really knew her. I'm sorry. My brow deepened, for I knew his pain. The door to the chambers creaked open, and an older necromancer lord walked out. His powerful presence filled the room. He was cloaked in a dark cape draped to the floor, one side slung over his belt to show off an impressive wand. A large demon's skull adorned the silver staff. The skull was blackened from use in battle. In a deep voice he inquired, "Who wants to be first?" "I'll be first!" cried Periton, leaping from his seat. Filled with pride and arrogance, he marched off to the judging room. He stopped at the door, turned his head, and smirked at the rest of us. The guards closed the door, leaving me and the others alone with our thoughts. Emerist rushed to the door in an attempt to listen. "I can't hear anything. Dang, I want to know what's going on." "What difference does it make?" said the third boy, who had been silent up till now. "If he makes it, we'll probably never see him again. If he doesn't, we'll know soon enough." "How will we know?" Emerus asked. An ear-piercing scream ripped through the brass doors and filled the chamber with horror. Gasps of agony and cries for mercy chilled our bones. Shrieks of pain were followed by low whimpers. Emerus slowly backed away from the door, his face white as bleached bones. "He failed," added the silent one into the dreaded stillness of the room. The doors swung open. 2 guards were dragging the nearly lifeless body of Periton from the judging room. The only signs of life was the constant twitching of his arm. Emerus looked like he was going to throw up as they dragged Periton off like useless trash. The older necromancer entered the room and in the same low voice uttered, "Who's next?" We were all silent, barely breathing. "How about you, Timothy?" I nodded with trepidation. The Lord motioned me into the judging room. It was not what I expected. I had always envisioned a magnificent chamber with tall benches for the judging lords to look down from on high. Instead, it was a small, dark room, lit by tiny candles. The judging lords were sitting at a table, their faces darkened by the dim light. "At last," commented one of the lords, his face shrouded in a hood, "the great Timothy. We've been waiting for your 12th anniversary for a long time. I pray you do better than the last pledge." The Lord reached out, placing a small box on the table in front of me. I dreaded what I knew I had to do. I opened the box, and there it was, the testing wand. The head of a small, odd bird on the pommel of an old, withered stick. It didn't look like much, but wands often don't. "All I have to do is hold it," I said to myself again and again. I reached for the wand, but paused with it just outside my grasp. Praying the judges wouldn't notice, I tried to still my quivering fingers. All my life I had prepared for this one moment, and still I had no idea what to expect. I closed my eyes, gathered my courage, and grabbed the wand. Searing pain shot up my arm, across my shoulders, and down my spine. It felt like 1,000 spiders were digging their fangs into my body. I gritted my teeth and grimaced. In the dark, hidden balcony, I knew my mother was suffering right along with me. Fighting back against the pain, I slowed my breathing and unclenched my teeth. With each passing moment, I could feel my pride growing in my chest, knowing that I was going to pass the test. I looked into the eyes of the 5 judges with confidence. After I had stared down the last lord, the chief judge said, "Impressive. You may put down the wand." I dropped the wand into the box as fast as my fingers would open. The pain began to subside except for the burning in my fingertips. My palm was bright red as if it had been scalded by hot oil. Impressive indeed. I, Lord Mar, vote to accept Timothy into the training at Necmara. I, Lord Coppola, also vote in favor of Timothy. Big deal! It's a training wand, spat the lord draped in purple. Any bum off the street could hold that. Let's see him hold this. He retrieved an ornate gold-inlaid box from his cloak and placed it on the table. He lifted the lid. Lord Timocus's wand, said Lord Mar. How did you get that? It's supposed to be locked away. What difference does it make? The question still stands. Can the boy hold this wand? You don't have to do this, Timothy, Lord Coppola declared. Your demonstration was more than good enough to pass. You don't need Lord Loder's vote. Of course not, snickered Lord Loder. Majority rules. He doesn't need my vote. He can walk away from my challenge. After all, isn't that what a sniveling little dog does? Don't do it! Mother cried from the balcony. Silence, woman! Lord Loder screamed, or I will not only remove you from the balcony, but from the entire school. Lord Loder glared into the darkness of the balcony before turning his attention back to me. Can you believe she did that? But what else would you expect of a peasant? Lord Loder snickered. She's not a peasant! My voice reverberated into the rafters. Watch yourself, boy. I'll give you that one because of who you are. But if you ever raise your voice to me again, I will kill you. I will stomp you out like a little bug. Your father was a son of a miller. Your mother nothing more than a scullery maid. Face it, son. You're the bastard child of a whore. That's enough, Lord Loder, Lord Mar barked. I don't think so, Lord Loder sneered. You know the rules. I get to say and do anything I want before I vote. I am Timothy, son of Lord Timocus, God Emperor of the dead. Lord Loder emitted a raucous laugh. You are no Lord Timocus. Your father could have grabbed that wand and held it all, son. I'll vote for you, boy. But I want everyone here to see that you are no Lord Timocus. Your bloodline has been washed out, poisoned by a peasant's urine in the water. My mother is not a peasant! I balled up my fists. Then prove it! Grab the wand! I snatched the wand from the box. What came next, I only know from what Mother told me. I screamed like a banshee from hell. I fell on my butt, quivering like a leaf in a storm. I foamed at the mouth. My mother leapt over the railing, a 10-foot drop to the floor, and ran to help me, but she was restrained by the guards. It was at that time I began to regain consciousness. The top of my head felt like it was being ripped off by bony claws. My bones felt like they were exploding from the inside. I could hear my mother fighting with the guards and Lord Loder laughing with delight. And then it quieted. Wispy forms started filling the room. I could see through them as if they were smoke. They were everywhere. The wisps swirled in a dance of darkness around me. One passed right through my body, sending a cool chill up my spine. Fear was becoming greater than my pain. He sees, Lord Mar said with a look of awe on his face. That's impossible, Lord Loder argued. No pledge sees. I have graduated guardians that couldn't see yet. He sees, Lord Mar repeated. Look at the fear in his eyes. Look at the anguish on his face. Nothing but the sight could cause that. Lord Mar stood and dashed toward me. The blood had drained from my face. He yanked the wand from my clutches. The wisps vanished as I flopped over in a fetal position. Lord Mar stepped back to the table and returned the wand to its box. He shook his hand with a little wince as he put down the magic stick. I was still quivering in the corner. I, Lord Mar, vote to admit Timothy. Lord Loder tightened his lips in anger. I vote yes.